Alright, I'm here to tell you that agents are a fucking pain in my ass. I've been using this term a shit ton, arbitrary. Oh, by the way, if you don't know me, my name's Adam. I dropped out of college about 3 years ago, and now my SaaS in the last 30 days has done 15 grand in revenue. Probably the most successful person you know, who's also super down to earth and just super cool. I mean, you can ask me. I longboarded when I was in high school. I'm pretty fucking cool. Anyways, this word arbitrary is a nice word. It's very helpful. I said it probably 100 times today, minimum. I'm kind of obsessed. Anyways, the beauty of agents is that you can build systems that are almost entirely arbitrary rather than deterministic, I suppose you could say. Because a deterministic system obviously expects some kind of like finely formatted input and it has some kind of finely formatted output. And so, to give you an example here, this is a deterministic system. This is a dashboard that we're looking at here, and it basically tells us some basic information so we can see, like, okay, how many new contacts were created within this time period, how many calls happened, etc. But if we want to have an agent tell us a lot of this information with an arbitrary request, so basically I'll tell you, I'm building a system where it's a deep researcher. So essentially the idea is we give AI some kind of a target, okay, so, or like a prompt. So in this case what we're saying is, if I open this up, so we can see identify the top 10 highest priority leads for immediate follow-up based on engagement signals, value, potential, and timing. And then we kind of define what makes a good lead. This is a pretty built-up prompt, but you could also just equally say, please identify the top 10 highest priority leads. Okay? And so what the AI should be able to do is basically take this query and turn it into something actually useful to humans. And what that means is I've identified basically two steps, okay? So if you ever go to research something, the way it works is you have first a divergent thought process, and then you have a convergent thought process. So what you're going to do is you're going to first divergently think, which means going in lots of directions. You know, maybe you like click on some link. If you're searching the web, you know, you click on some link, then maybe you click on another page here. You read something, you Google a term. And then once you've done that in like 50 cases, then you have a bunch of information built up, and now you basically need to think convergently and kind of condense all of this information you've gotten down into one answer or one kind of document. And so what we're doing here is we're allowing the AI to basically write arbitrary queries against the database to figure out what it needs to look for. So in this case, basically it's asking, okay, can you give me, so here it's asking a question, and I'll explain the structure a little bit more here, but the agent is saying, get the top 10 contacts with the lowest weighted grade from contact stats, along with their ID, name, sales grade, quality grade, last activity, blah, blah, blah. And so it can basically ask for this information. And the idea is that once it builds up this huge kind of database or kind of context around the best leads, then it can basically pass this off to a second agent, which its job is going to be taking all of this information and condensing it down into a nice format that can be displayed on a web page for the viewer. So you could either have this, basically for this app that I'm building, the idea is this report can either run like daily, weekly, basically on an arbitrary schedule. Again, the word arbitrary coming in clutch. Or you could just run a one-off query where you might just wake up one day and go, yeah, I'm really motivated, and then just ask this question. And maybe 5 minutes later you get your answer. The issue here is it's just very hard to get working. Especially, I mean, I think a lot of the times when you see people with agents, basically what they're doing is they have like a very intelligent model. GPT-4o, basically the size of the model is a huge determiner a huge factor. So like GPT 4.0 is much smarter than 4.0 mini, and then Claude is much smarter. Like I'm using Gemini 2.5 Flash for this, which is not the smartest model, but it's much more cost effective. So you can see here, it's running a bunch of different things. So basically what we have is kind of this system where we have these topics. Okay, so somewhere we're declaring the type topic. So a topic is something that the AI can kind of research. It might be a question, it might be, like some kind of like object to look at, and then basically it just fills in the content as it goes, and it never removes content, it just appends to that content. That's kind of the idea anyway. But what we're fine, and so what it does is at the first, it's creating a bunch of different topics, one for each lead. But you can see it's using placeholders here, so it's not really that good. And we've overfit the hell out of this prompt here to this one specific task. So this is not really working. But then it can ask a question, and so what it does is we expose a tool to this AI here, somewhere. Oh yeah, here. So we expose a tool here that is basically arbitrary query tool. And so this lets it ask a question. So it can say, basically, like in this case, it's saying this, like give me the top 10 contacts. And then we have a second agent here, which its job is actually to write the SQL query and then to return the results to the main agent. But the fact that both of these agents are pretty dumb means we get a lot of issues. Like, I mean, in this case, basically what happened is it just returned early. It didn't even answer all the questions, which we have explicit prompting saying you have to answer all the questions. And here, it didn't update the title. It literally just changed out. It just added some content. So, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. And yeah, I don't know. This is kind of like, so the alternative to this is basically to give it access to the same APIs that the dashboard uses. Because what we could do is we could say, basically, if you want to get average pipeline value, then, call this tool. And it would basically just call this function in the backend that's actually running this. Or we could say get AI pipeline status, or, get a table of all the leads and sort by whatever column you want to sort by. But it's doing that is a lot of work. And so either, I don't know, dude, I think the tricky part here is, I wonder if I just improve this model. Let's see what model this is using. Model. Okay, this is using Claude 3.5. What the hell? Sonnet. This should really be, we're declaring our model types here, so we can go SQL writer model. So this is going to be that. And then maybe if we just change this, if we change this to a much smarter model, it would probably be a lot slower, but it might give us some better results. So let's go open router, and we'll go models, and I'm just going to do for Sonnet for all of them. So we'll do that. Boom. And suggest. Motherfucker. There we go. Okay. So let's try this again, just changing the model, and see how much that actually changes. So if we run this, basically what we're going to see is that it's looking at the initial prompt, and then it's going to add a contact. So it's going to say, okay, it's just going to create a topic for each of the contacts. And then the idea would be that it would basically start researching, looking through these contacts, and actually pull out the best contact. So now it should start asking questions and looking for relevant information. So, okay, so then now it's asking for, it's added a topic for lead prioritization. So now it's asking a question. Get the top 50 contacts from this table, which is our best table for this, ordered by best weighted grade. For some reason it thinks lower grades are best, but that's just my fuck up with the prompting. And so in this case, it's going to run a query and it's going to get us some data here. And we have a bunch of validation on this. And of course, like this is an actual agent underneath here too. So it can see like the output, you can see what went wrong. But it can run basically a bunch of queries to actually get the right data. And so see here, it's still testing. Is final is false. And so is final allows the AI to declare like, okay, if this query works, then we're just going to pass this back. This is the actual result. And so you can see this takes a while. We set a 10-minute timeout on this task. We're already at minute 35. We don't have any answers yet. So yeah, I mean, Gemini 2.5 Flash is fast as shit. All right, boom. We finally got an actual result here with 50 rows, presumably sorted by the lowest kind of grade. So, yeah, query completed successfully. And now we should see this agent here update the actual topic. So, okay, now it's just going to grab each contact. Ideally, it should grab each contact and kind of look at all 50 and figure out like which ones are the best to look at. Of course, we have a 50,000 token, or what is it for Claude for Sonnet? It's 200,000 token context window. So we shouldn't hit that necessarily, but you know, we could get kind of close to that. And so, yeah, I mean, context window is an issue. And yeah, but I don't know. You see that this approach is very kind of slow, also very expensive. I mean, we're literally, I mean, almost every console log here. Well, these are fully deterministic. This is just from the back end, but okay, boom. So it updated the priority lead analysis. Contact 1. Oh, it's just doing it in order. So hopefully it should be able to rewrite that if it finds better leads. But you can see how slow this is. I mean, this is incredible. This model is just so slow. And then if we go to our activity, we should see that for spend, holy shit, dude, I've spent $56 testing this. Oh no, this is just, damn, I have spent a shit ton testing this. And yeah, for Anthropic, Claude, I mean, we're starting to get up there. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to spend a lot. Look at this. We're already at 40,000 tokens, like 4 contacts in or something. So that's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, this is insane. 50,000 tokens. So I don't really think this is going to work that well. We do have max steps of 100, so this AI can run 100 steps if it needs to. But yeah, I mean, I guess the alternative option is to provide fully deterministic tools where you feed in the data. But again, setting that up is very time consuming. It's like building an entire database minus, the front end work. And so, hi.
Hi, just opening the fan, the air movement.
Okay. That was my mom.
You guys want some food?
Okay, and we just aired out. So I don't actually know what happened. We were just running fine. Then I aired out. I wonder if that could have been due to a context window limitation. So here we're only at 132,000 tokens, but I don't know, something else might have gone wrong that caused that limit to be hit. But yeah, either way, basically Claude, as you can see, far too slow, far too kind of painful to use. And then if we switch back to Gemini, let's see if we get any better results this time. Oh, this is the wrong task. Okay. So let's run this. So, yeah, I think the real trick is going to be just giving it actual tools that are helpful. So now it's asking, okay, get the top 20 contacts where by weighted grade, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why it's doing last 7 days. I guess we probably said last 7 days or something, but technically it should be able to go further back. You can see it's just fucking up the SQL query over and over again. Column weighted grade does not exist, so it's kind of hallucinating. And then, yeah. So there, it added a topic. Wow, I actually added a topic for a lot of these people. And then it's going to look at each contact. Thankfully, with Gemini, we have a 1 million token context window, so we shouldn't hit as many issues. But I keep hitting that error where it just errors out. And yeah, I don't know. I think agent design, especially if you have to determine like scoping, and there's so much work that goes into not the prompt, but just the kind of the infrastructure around it. Like, what tools are you going to build for it, and then are you going to vectorize some of the data so that it can make kind of arbitrary queries against it? Like, how are you actually going to set that up? There's a lot of kind of thought that goes into it. This is like, I think AI is definitely better at coding than me. Like, Opus is just better. Like, sometimes I just think it's smarter because I can't fit something in my brain, but Opus just does it. And so I definitely think Opus is much smarter than me at coding. But when you bring Opus, kind of an abstract problem like this, where there's lots of different ways to go to solve it, and you know, there's a lot of different like edge cases to think about, it becomes much harder. So let's see, is this actually going to work? So it's doing a bunch of work. It's been 2.5 minutes, so good thing we have that 10-minute timeout here. But you have to imagine, I mean, this is going to run basically constantly, and like this could run every single day for every single sub account. So that means you might have, 20, like, you might have like 50 sub accounts where this is running every single day. And we'll see what the actual cost breaks down to. But that is also not going to be the ask question bot, because the ask question bot, I still have to work it in so it factors into the final cost. This is going to be free for customers at the start just because I'm still trying to figure out how to get this shit working effectively. But yeah, hopefully we're not going to top out here in terms of our usage. So it looks like, is this our query? 30,000 tokens? That's it? Here's one where it's 75. I think it's the unknown app. Filter. Okay, whatever. But yeah, unknown. Okay, we're at 100,000 tokens. But yeah, million token context window for the win. We can see here the total cost of just the reading was 36 cents. And did we get an actual result? Wait. So it's still missing a lot of context around what makes a good lead. Which means you either have to have some kind of agent like define that, or you have to have the user define that, which, yeah, I don't know. And at a certain point, you're just like, especially when you want to make things super modular where anyone can ask any question, you get into like thinking about a lot of, you kind of run up against this problem of like overfitting, where you could try to come up with some good examples, but In a lot of cases, not using an agent will give you a lot of edge cases, but also using the agent, you have to kind of architect it in a way that's not going to have a bunch of edge cases. So anyways, I don't know. That's what I've been struggling with for the past 48 hours, something like that. Trying to get this motherfucker to work. But yeah, it's fun. Anyways, that's the video.